we are here, the playoff, and that picture still up in the air. Baker Mayfield on the precipice of breaking one of Tom Brady's records in a Bucs uniform, but he's got more than just records on his mind. Win, and you are into the postseason. Meanwhile, fans in Atlanta hoping for a Tampa Bay loss. In fact, that would open the door for the Falcons to fly into the playoffs. Can Michael Penix be the catalyst? Full details coming up next.
I don't do this for the paycheck.
The moment can't be too big.
Step out on the field and hear the crowd roar.
What more could you ask for?
Why? What's up? What a throw! Caught! Touchdown!
I'm in this for the love.
Oh, yeah! Come on! Another dance on the touchdown, baby! Yeah! That's a wrap, man.
This is what it's all about.
God, some of those images of those quarterbacks, nothing better than winning in the game of football. Jaden Daniels, third most offensive touchdowns by a rookie in NFL history. Can his squad, though, lock up a 6th seed? A report from Dallas coming up where, yes, or Jane Slater saying Trey Lance getting the start for the Cowboys. And that, we welcome you inside our studio. Mike Am, Steve White, Cynthia Freeland with you. We're here, end of the season. I can't believe that we are actually on the precipice, once again, of the NFL postseason.
It always goes, what's that saying? It's like, the days are long, but the years are fast, or whatever. It's always crazy. It gets here so fast, but then you're like, last Tuesday felt like a million years ago. So
Right. But it's here. I mean, this is what everyone plays for, and the fact that we're here at Week 18, and there's still so many scenarios unsolved, so many teams trying to get into one playoff spot or 2 playoff spots, makes this for a very intriguing day.
Well, look, we got a little bit of clarity, just a little bit, with some Saturday football that was on display. And no, it wasn't the college game. I'm talking a little NFL action here. The guy that could be this year's MVP, all right on cue. MV3 for Lamar Jackson, been playing like it down the stretch. How about this? I mean, this Rashad Bateman by himself.
I love it, though, because Lamar went buckets. Steph Curry right here, buckets. 3, it's going in. Don't even have to look. Let me listen to the crowd cheer. There we go, touchdown.
First quarterback in history, 4K passing yards and over 800 rushing yards. Cynthia the King, he's good.
Yeah, and I didn't even expect him to be playing this late in the game. And then he's like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to break a bunch of tackles for another touchdown. I mean, just crazy stuff. He's so impressive, and the fact that we're not putting him right up there in that same conversation with his teammate and that other running back, you know, the one that isn't going to be playing today, it's just baffling.
Yeah, you know, you forget he's got 1,900 rushing yards.
It's wild.
It's not 2,000.
That's crazy.
Says Philadelphia fans.
All right, so with that win, the Ravens actually locked up the 3 seed in the AFC North. The Cincinnati, thinking about a postseason spot, they need a little bit of help, and that certainly is going to help their cause.
Well, look, and this is something, you know, twofold. Because Pittsburgh doesn't take advantage of its opportunities, even though Pat Freiermuth gets in here. But Joe Burrow and the Bengals, if they get in today, now again, they need some help, they have to go to Buffalo. And frankly, I mean, as great as the Bills are, I don't think the Bills really want to see Joe Burrow and these Bengals.
To be fair, I don't think there's many teams that want to see Cincinnati right now, the way they've been playing some football.
All due respect, I would like Mike Tomlin to call me. We can talk about some strategies for late game play calling and late game time management because, I mean, don't let Russ do that, man. You can't go down in bounds.
Correct. That was a very bad decision by Russ.
Yeah.
But that loss was not completely on Russ.
No.
There were some other guys who didn't show up.
Late game, yeah, I mean, George Pickens had like 4 drops.
Yeah.
Crazy.
There were some real issues there with Pickens in this game. Super cold, but it doesn't matter. Got to get it done. Make reference to that 7th seed. Broncos handle business. You win against Kansas City, you're in. The Dolphins need some help. We got a report on Tua coming up in just a bit. And yeah, that Cincinnati squad, they need maybe the most help, but this feels like a real possibility. Your biggest takeaway, Cynthia, surrounding this Cincinnati squad is what?
Well, the offense, obviously, we thought they're going to be good. And they were good. Yeah. Khalil Herbert actually really did a nice job of stepping in admirably and playing in the run game when Chase Brown couldn't go. But the defense stepped up, guys. That defense really helped them out. Finally, we got to see some of the things. I mean, Trey Hendrickson with multiple sacks. That was massive number of sacks. The guy is the sack leader. Like, there's a whole bunch of great things there. But in general, we've been having a lot of questions about the defense, rightfully so. But this team looked really good. And overall, I think this is why we talk about them being such a scary late season opponent, because now it starts to seem like just finally, after starting really, really slow, we're starting to see who these Bengals could potentially be.
Yeah, look, again, offensively, they're super dangerous. They've got to get some guys back if they're going to win a playoff game, if they get in. And I'm sure they're going to regret it if they don't. But I'd like to go over to the Ravens. Okay, so offensively, Cleveland, I know Cynthia just said she didn't expect Derrick Henry to be playing that late. Cleveland gave them a game. The score doesn't reflect it because Baltimore got some scores late. But this is something I think they get to the playoffs, and Derrick Henry is the reason why. They can finish, right? Big plays, small plays. Zay Flowers, who hurt his knee right here. Yeah. Ian Rappaport is reporting he might not be ready to go in the wild card round. That's a big loss. They still have enough to probably get through. They've got to get him healthy. But again, the Ravens won the division. They're one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL. But real quick on the Steelers, a team that they beat out. You're not feeling good about them at all. We can talk about coming in the game, their defense has been slippery. Their offense has not scored more than 17 points the past 4 games.
Well, they're going to Ravens.
They're going to the Ravens, or they could be going to Houston.
Right. Okay,
and that could be a get-well game for either Houston or Pittsburgh. But again, the Steelers, they've got a lot of things to work through if they're going to advance, beyond this.
Yeah, and just to level set on the seeding here, Cynthia made reference to currently the Steelers in the 6th spot could move up to the 5th spot if the Chargers lose. So if Los Angeles goes and wins this game against Vegas, and all of a sudden the Raiders have now won 2 straight games, some questions around Antonio Pierce and his job. Details on that coming up in just a minute with Mike Garafolo. But if the Chargers win, they will get that 5 seed. Meanwhile, fans in Cincinnati, all of a sudden fans of Kansas City. I'm just saying, for at least one day against the Broncos. A flight delay here for this team to land in Denver. The good news is they got there safe and sound. Carson
you like the illuminated staircase there, Mike.
That does look really good. It's like a club. Here's Omar Ruiz.
The Broncos are very aware of their postseason drought, as Pro Bowl linebacker Nick Benito told me this week. That's all he's heard the past couple off seasons. Another year of missing the playoffs. They haven't been to the postseason since the Sheriff, Peyton Manning, was patrolling the sidelines here on the road to their Super Bowl 50 win. Rookie deputy Bo Nix was asked this week how he's dealing with the pressure of trying to get what's become for a couple weeks now that elusive clinching win. And he said pressure is a privilege. As a quarterback in the NFL, he lives with pressure. It's become second nature at this point. And there is no pressure without opportunity. And what a golden one at that for these Broncos, as many of the Kansas City Chiefs starters will be resting today, like Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones.
Omar, but yet it still feels like they could win this game. And I don't know if that's an indictment on Denver, who currently is sitting in that 7th spot. Remember, if they win, they clinch that playoff berth with not only a victory, but also a tie, which I don't think is going to happen. So, Cynthia, you tell me, how does Denver get it done against KC?
They show me something that I have a question about with them, and that's the run game. Can they just not Bo Nix's legs? We know he's a great runner, but scrambling, all of those things, sometimes you just need to run the darn football. You just need to get 4 yards on first down. You just need to get halfway there to get to 3rd and manageable. And we haven't seen a consistent run game. As good as this offensive line has played, as good as Bo Nix has played, sure, he's turned the ball over a number of times, but then he's needed heroics to make sure they win the game. If you have a really solid, very sexy run game, I was going to say unsexy, but you know what? It is very sexy run game. Then things are great. You can control the ball. You have the possession. I know this is a great defense. I know that the quarterback's doing well. They've got Cortland Sutton with a bunch of incentives, but I'm looking at the opportunity to see, are you for real? Can you just get like 4 yards on first down?
Look who the play caller is. When has he ever run the ball consistently in the first half especially? He'll do it to close out games, Sean Payton, after they get leads. So your running game, if that would be a nice change of character. But I am going to go to the most consistent part of this team, and that's the defense. And to me, one of the best defensive players in the NFL, I don't think anyone will argue with it, is Patrick Surtain. And today he's going to be going up against Juju Smith-Schuster, some of the guys who aren't necessarily the front line players, but also Carson Wentz. The thing is, I have seen Andy Reid, I've covered games in the final week of the season where he's played backups and they've won. There still is a certain standard and expectation and practice habits that players getting their opportunities will take advantage of. And this is where someone like Surtain has got to step in and make plays. Because Kansas City probably not going to run the ball that much, maybe 50-50. It's not Andy Reid's nature to run the ball like that. So I think that type of leader, that type of player has got to show the way to get the Broncos into the postseason.
And look, at the end of the day, this team has just won football games.
Yeah.
I mean, we hear Mike Tomlin say this all the time. Maybe I shouldn't be name-checking another AFC squad, but the standard is the standard.
Correct.
And Kansas City's standard is winning football games. More on
They
this
can't sit
matchup.
everyone either.
No.
You know, like
guys
you
are gonna
can't sit.
play.
Correct.
You can't be like, oh, you're sitting. They don't have enough players.
Right.
So there's still
point.
good guys playing.
The magic of Carson, as opposed to the magic of Mahomes. I know.
Doesn't have quite the ring
Push the
to
narrative.
it.
Push
I
the
know.
narrative.
The craft of Carson.
Yeah, the alliteration is really key when you're coming up with that. Well played. I appreciate the assist. On to the game of the day.
Whatever happened last week and the week before that, it doesn't matter. It's a big one at home for the division, for the #1 seed. We all know what's at stake.
I'm a better off number 1 than I ever been, number 2 at anything. Even though I've been number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for many things. But I always came back going harder to that number 10 spot, grew farther. Oppositions I defeated and exploit out. And if we take it to the street, I bring Detroit out. You don't want to squab, you don't really want to mob, you don't want to know your eyes when it comes to the best. You ain't never tried, you ain't never tried, you ain't never ride or survive over time with the best. I've been doing this my whole life. I've been doing this my whole life.
This whole team is having a day.
I've been doing this my whole life. I've been doing this my whole life.
Vikings, Lions, all on the line at Ford Field.
It's as good as it gets.
I've been doing this my whole life.
Absolutely geeked up for this game. Look, final regular season game of the season, and it is one that has got really meaningful ramification. Winner not only clinches the NFC North, but they get the 1 seed and home field advantage. Stacey Dales has more. It's a little early for her, isn't it?
Hey, Mike, it would be an understatement to say this is a huge game. The winner, of course, between the Lions and Vikings takes the 1 seed. The loser plummets to the 5 seed. They have to go on the road for the playoff. And I will tell you, the Lions are embracing this. Dan Campbell, their coach, talking about it being fairy tale kind of stuff. And his message, Taylor Decker from the offensive line told me, hasn't really changed. He's been telling his guys every week, we're built for this. We're built for opportunities and moments like this. They certainly have the quarterback, Jared Goff, to get the job done. The biggest priority, ball security, facing Brian Flores' #1 takeaway defense in the NFL. And for the Vikings, there is no shortage of confidence. I spoke with tight end TJ Hawkinson, who told me we've got the guys, we've got the players, we've got the play calls, we've got the coach, and they have the quarterback. Sam Darnold has been so steady as they look for some revenge, given that the Lions beat him back in Week 7.
All right, Stacey, a little Sunday night football action, and this is the one that we all had circled. And once again, we're talking about a 14-win team that is not going to win the division. That's never happened before in NFL history, and yet I turn to my Detroit Lions fan and Cynthia Freeland. Stacey just said it. This is a Vikings team that is confident. I'd say the same exact thing about Detroit.
I think, like, if I were taking my fandom out of this, these are two of the most charming teams in all of the NFL. Like, you can love either one of them. I mean, it's a great matchup. And as fans, and not during the game, I'm so happy that we get this game so late in the season. It's a really special game. But one thing that I'm looking at in this matchup is something that the Lions, they practice, they harness. It's their identity. It is the grit. And that's what happens on 3rd and 4th down. They're not treating this as 4th down, we're going to just punt. No. Au contraire. What they're doing is they're using 3rd down to get to manageable 4th downs. I did a ton of math this week because clearly that's the type of thing that I do in my spare time. But if you're looking at both 2-point conversions and going for it on 4th down, this is a historically bad season in terms of converting. Usually it's 48%. We're tracking around 40%. But the Lions are not doing that. You know why? Because 75% of every other team that's trying this on these late downs, they're throwing a pass out of the shotgun. That's not helpful. You know what the Lions do? They're poker players. Sometimes they're going to run the ball. Sometimes they're going to pass it. Maybe it's an under center pass. You don't know. They're going to keep mixing it up. And that's where it's been really special and effective. They're way up over 55%. So why? Because they're not doing all of the other things the teams are doing. They're not being predictable. The defense has to mind the pass and the run. And that's giving them an advantage.
And I love you say that because the Lions can be on 3rd and 15. Everyone says obvious passing down. No, they're just going to take the ball and run it and get 8 yards. And like you said, get the 4th and manageable. Personnel-wise, scheme-wise, they're brilliant with that. But I'm going to look at the Viking side. And what have we been noticing for the Detroit Lions, even though they're winning, all the injuries on defense have left them vulnerable. And this is where Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and even running back Aaron Jones they've got to show up. I mean, they need to put up significant numbers, including touchdowns like this, because as good as Minnesota's defense is, Detroit is going to score touchdowns today. And this is, again, Sam Darnold, the way he's playing, as great as Jared Goff is playing, Sam Darnold is right there. The fact that they're asking him to throw it a little bit more right now, and he's going to be throwing it all day against this defense because of some of the issues at linebacker. Alex Anzalone should be coming back, but that's a soft area. And I think you're going to see a lot of between the hash or between the number type of throws from this team today. They got to just catch it and run. It's going to be a track meet. Yeah. Let's hope it is.
Yeah, I can't wait for this one. And by the way, two teams that are surging since week 11, Goff and Darnold 1 and 2 in passing yards in the NFL. They're not shy.
No.
Minnesota, that is, about throwing the football.
Well, especially they're bringing 2,000 of their fans with them, too, courtesy of their owners.
More on that still to come. Oh, Bucky. Sweet. He's going to get a lot of love in this show as Tampa Bay is in a win and in situation. Oh, reinforcements on the way for Washington, hitting the road, an opportunity to hold on and lock up that 6th seed. Austin Eckler been on the injured reserve since week 13. Remember, he suffered a concussion against this Cowboys squad. It's good to see him healthy. Well, yet again, you can see right in the middle of that screen, he is active. Inactive at the top, Jalen Hurts. We know that Philadelphia is sitting a lot of their starters, but at least from a Jalen Hurts perspective, he obviously is inactive because of concussion that he faced or suffered a couple weeks ago. All right, some news to get to from around the NFL. Our insider, Mike Garafolo, is with us right now. Mike, it is going to be a busy day tomorrow for you and the rest of our insiders. A lot of coaching news that we expect to sort of percolate here. Made reference to Dallas as they match up against Washington. You tell me the latest. Mike McCarthy, what's the situation in terms of the long-term viability of him being their head coach?
Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys, there is mutual respect both ways in this one. I covered their game last week in Philadelphia and talking to folks on all levels of the organization. I'm talking players, I'm talking coaches, I'm talking those in the front office. There was a hope that Mike McCarthy will be back with the Cowboys this upcoming season. It's up to basically Jerry Jones and his son Steve and Jerry Jr. to make that decision here on what the future is going to be like for McCarthy. They have until January 14th. They could do it after that. They could still do a contract after that, but they have exclusive rights to negotiate with him. He's under contract still with them up until January 14th. So they get first crack at this one. Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones both publicly have been effusive in their praise for Mike McCarthy, who has stockpiled a bunch of 12-win seasons before this year, Mike. So I still sit here and say, if everybody is saying, let's get him back there, Jordan Lewis, the cornerback, saying he's got the respect of the locker room, he's got that lunch pail mentality, he's an inner city guy like a lot of us growing up. If everybody wants him back, it should be easy to get this thing done. But until it's done, it's not done. So we'll continue to watch that, Mike, but I do expect him to be back in Dallas. Well,
there's a similar theme here because a year ago, the Raiders weren't sure who their head coach was going to be. A lot of guys inside that locker room, they wanted Antonio Pierce. Well, they got AP, and down the stretch here, they've won 2 consecutive games. Today could be 3 in a row. What's his status right now with the organization?
You know, I know a lot of people on the outside are looking at this and saying, well, it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to be one and done, or at least one full year and done. I am not convinced, because I know that Mark Davis has had conversations with Antonio Pierce within the last week, within the last couple of weeks. They've been positive. He's told him, don't worry about draft positioning or anything like that. Just win the games. And he's done that the last 2 weeks. Now, he's got a chance to do it against a Chargers team today that is playing its starters, that is playing for playoff positioning. So this would be quite the statement to beat a team headed to the postseason as he heads into the playoffs on a 3-game winning streak. This is a roster that needs a lot of work. Needs a lot of work at the quarterback position and elsewhere. One of the youngest rosters in the league. Mark Davis understands that. He also sees that these players are still playing hard for Antonio Pierce all the way down to the wire. So I think he's got a shot to stick there. No one's told me that for sure. And there are going to be conversations over the next day plus to determine which way this winds up going. We're also watching whether General Manager Tom Telesco continues. But I just know that the conversation and the communication has been positive recently.
Mike, the Jets got to jump an early start on their coaching search. What's the latest on where it stands?
Mike Vrabel and the Jets met. Now, this is after Ron Rivera interviewed, and there have been former general managers as well that the Jets have interviewed. They've tried to get as much of a jump on this process as they can with those who were available. And Vrabel was available because he was let out of his contract by the Browns, with whom he'd spent this season helping them out on the coaching staff level. It sounded like it was a good meeting both ways. My understanding is Vrabel has gotten his ducks in a row, or started to, or continued to, I should say, with regard to coaching and with regard to front office personnel. Ryan Cowden, who's now a personnel guy with the Giants and was with Vrabel in Tennessee, that is a strong candidate for a general manager role with Mike Vrabel, should he land somewhere where there isn't a GM in place, such as the Jets. So that is a pairing that seems like it is a possibility. The Jets still going to have other interviews to do. Vrabel's got other interviews. He's going to go on likely, but at least for now, a good start between Vrabel and the Jets.
Mike, once again, you're going to be hanging with me and Steve tomorrow all day long on NFL Network as a lot of this coaching news changes. And by the way, you're not hoarding your good suits for a big day. Week 18, we love the suit jacket, man. Hat tip. Can't wait to see what you break out tomorrow.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Mike.
All right, let's take a closer look at a guy that's always got a strong suit game, and Lord knows he's got the cash to do it. Tom Brady. Let's roll. Bucs looking to win their 4th consecutive NFC South title. Sarah Walsh has more from Tampa Bay.
Baker Mayfield went out last season and earned himself a $100 million contract. This year, he has proven that he is worth every penny of it. He's going to finish the year with the highest passer rating in Buccaneers history, and with 39 touchdowns entering Sunday is just 4 shy of tying Tom Brady's single-season record, which he could do in front of Brady himself, who's calling the game. But Baker doesn't care about records unless there's somebody else's, specifically his top target. Mike Evans is just 85 receiving yards shy of hitting the 1,000-yard mark for the 11th straight season. I asked Baker, why does this mean so much to so many people here? And he said, because Mike lifts people up in the community. And he also said, while winning is the most important thing, he said winning and getting Mike involved go hand in hand. So he told me, if we win, Mike is getting that record.
Gotta love it when it's Mike Evans who quietly, just consistently is one of the best NFL wide receivers. Meanwhile, for the Bucs, it's really simple. Win and you're in. Falcons, they need a little bit of help. The Buccaneers will need to lose their game, and Atlanta needs to be victorious. All right, focus in on this game here. Mike Evans, we had our production meeting earlier this week. He's the one guy that you wanted to focus in on.
Absolutely. When all of your teammates, so not just Baker Mayfield, but also Tristan Wirfs, also truly, K. Dotton, I know he may or may not be, but everyone else is saying, we want to get this for Mike. That, to me, is such a strong indication that not only does he mean so much to the team, but also to the whole community, but also to Baker, and they need to win this game. All of these stars are aligned, which means I feel like one of the more sure things that you can count on that I would say, look, I'm a math person, right? I'm never going to say 100%, but I'm going to go like 75%. That's about as high as you could get me to go. That Mike Evans not only blows way past that 1,000 mark, he only needs 85 yards to get there, just to reiterate that, but also at least sees the end zone once. I think they'll feed him and feed him again.
Well, the battered Saints know that the Bucs are trying to get the ball to Mike Evans, so nothing new. He's going to see double coverages and all kinds of things. But that's where Baker Mayfield and the Saints offense has to run the football with one of my favorite players in the NFL, Bucky Irving. This guy, his run balance is insane. Watch right here. He'll get someone in his face. He almost squat, and then his acceleration. But he's got the strength. He looks like a little guy. Powerful, great in the red zone, incredible vision. Right? So him and Baker set the tone running the ball, set up the play action, get Mike Evans' record, get the dub, eliminate all his curiosity, and also show any teams you could be facing in the postseason that you are to be reckoned with. Because we know this offense is dangerous, and we know they're well coached. So I think this is a statement game for Tampa today, not just to win, but to hit all those boxes that need to be checked.
We talk about this a lot, these young, talented players in the NFL. I mean, think about this year's class. We focus in on the wide receiver spot. And by the way, more on that coming up in just a bit, but Bucky's not getting nearly enough attention.
Oh, he's been great.
He's been
between Bucky and Brock Bowers, we've got pretty much every position on the offense covered.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
There you go.
This is a tremendous class. And by the way, I think a lot of us in the NFL are hoping that this year's draft class is going to be just as talented. But made reference to the Bucs here in the driver's seat once again to go and win this division on their heels. The Atlanta Falcons, it will be Michael Penix getting the nod. They need to win and see the Bucs lose for them to win the division. Cam Wolf has more.
Yeah, Falcons safety Jesse Bates said, we'll be Saints fans this week. I know our fans hate to hear it, but that's our reality. We got to embrace it. The Falcons need a win today, plus a Bucs loss to the Saints to make it into the playoffs, and I'm told they will not show the Saints-Bucs game on the scoreboard unless it's good for them, which means Saints winning. But for this Falcons team, nothing is more important going forward than Michael Penix Jr.'s development. This is his third start, and he showed a lot of promise, and as Raheem Morris said, poise in his first couple of starts. Drake London has seen something special in his quarterback. He said he's got absolute dog. I see it in his eyes. He's our guy. Falcons hope he's their guy this game and plenty games ahead.
All right, good stuff, Cam. Time for Who's Eating Good. It is presented by Applebee's. Let's focus in on this game. Who do you think has got the potential to really explode?
Bijan Robinson.
Yes,
I mean, he already has been, but you know what's kind of interesting? I put out this analytics survey for analytics professionals who work amongst all of the teams. And so I wanted to see if our MVPs and all of the awards would be the same. Well, one question I added was who was the best second or third year player, because I wanted to try to get at who we as the analytics community think should get paid. Bijan Robinson is basically on every single person's ballot, right?
As he should.
That is the opportunity for him this year, taking this massive step forward and being so impactful. I actually think going forward, the combination of him, Penix Jr., Drake London, it's gonna be really interesting to see how the Falcons evolve yet again in this offseason.
Yeah, Bijan Robinson's been unbelievable. We don't talk about him enough, how great he's played. But who's eating good for the Falcons besides Bijan? Oh, at the play of the table is Drake London.
Oh, yeah.
This guy has developed quickly a rapport with Michael Penix. 13 targets last week, 8 the week before.
Just that many?
Right, so he's had 12 catches for 170 yards just over the past 2 games. He's like, thank you, get me the ball. The one thing he hasn't done is gotten to the end zone. I think that could happen today. But you've seen these intermediate kind of squat zone beater routes right here. Michael Penix is looking for number 5. He's going to be eating good with Bijan.
I'd also make the argument this is not a gimme game.
No.
Carolina's played some good football down the stretch.
And they have hurt the Falcons at the end of seasons in the recent past.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there. There's a chance for Bryce Young to ball out in this game against an Atlanta team that once again needs to win in the worst way. Oh, speaking of, there he is. It's like I knew.
No way.
He'd be up on the screen.
He's got you off guard.
We're all about transitions here. By the way, significant news at the quarterback spot for the Cowboys. We got a report from Big D coming up. Oh, Mike McCarthy. We heard Mike Garafolo tell us next couple days going to be crucial to find out if McCarthy is going to be the head coach of the Cowboys moving forward. Jane Slater's got more on this game, not to mention some imminent changes in Big D.
Thanks, Mike. Well, the Commanders are playing for playoff seeding. The Cowboys, pride and jobs. All of the coaches, with the exception of Mike Zimmer, on expiring contracts, and they'll have 26 free agents heading into this offseason. Now, when you look at this game today, this one came down close in Landover at the end of November. Both teams scoring a combined 31 points in the final 4 minutes. When we look at the way the Commanders have been playing, well, they haven't lost one since that last Cowboys game, but penalties and turnovers have been an issue. No CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys today. Ezekiel Elliott traded away. No quarterback Marshawn Lattimore for the Commanders, but Austin Eckler will be active today.
All right, Jane, time for Road Warriors, presented by Courtyard Marriott. Should be noted, by the way, Jane also reporting Trey Lance getting the start for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Cooper Rush, who's been playing some really good football down the stretch, there's some incentives on the line. And Dallas saying, you know what, let's just see what we got in the young fella.
Dallas saying,
Trey.
we don't want to pay you extra.
Yeah, there's that aspect is really what it comes down to. All right, in terms of guys who can ball out here, Scary Terry has been really terrific, and it was a slow start for him with Jaden Daniels. As the year unfolded, though, these two guys and this combination has been strong.
You know, I pushed to talk about him to also remind everyone that he's finally a Pro Bowler. This is a guy who quietly has had a ton of good seasons despite chaos at the quarterback position. You give him a great quarterback, look what happens. The people take note, they vote him in. He'll be in Orlando. You're going to be there, right?
I will not be.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I'm going there, actually. But anyways, Scary Terry will be there. Well, if they don't make it to the Super Bowl, that is. But I think the opportunity and his impact on Jaden Daniels' first season has been incredible. We don't talk about him enough, so I just wanted to give him a little extra love.
And he's been great, especially on the scramble rules. When things break down, we talk about McLaurin. I'm going to talk about a guy I think is, I won't say a snub, but someone who earned the right to Pro Bowl, and that's Frankie Louvu, their inside linebacker.
Yes, what?
Bobby Wagner as well, but Frankie Louvu, the reason why I want to talk about him, and speaking to somebody in Washington, they took many of the schematic and strategic things that they did with Micah Parsons and are using Frankie Louvu the same way. He's mainly an off-ball linebacker inside, but they put him on the edge sometimes. They rush him. They blitz him through certain gaps like they did with Micah Parsons. They say he's athletic and is destructive and disruptive enough as to where they can do that. And he's smart enough to understand how it impacts the other 10 guys. So Frankie Louvu, someone's going to flash today. He's flashed all season long. Like you with Terry McLaurin, wanted to give him a little recognition for someone who's just been a stud.
Yeah. Last night we were hanging with David Carr as we get some Saturday football. David was raving.
He was like, Derek put him on to Frankie Louvu like a guy's a player.
Yeah, I said, just put on the tape and you'll see. He's not lying there.
No,
all right, let's focus in on some rookies right now. And look, made reference to it. We got a class that has been absolutely stellar. Never happened before in NFL history. 4 rookies with 1,000 yards receiving. I mean, the list is just so darn impressive. Time for Rookie Watch, presented by New Era. Brock Bowers. You know, Cynthia's been loving him up the entire season. It feels like every really rookie record you could have as a tight end, he owns it.
And just, you know, the one thing he doesn't do is get into the end zone. And he's playing a Chargers team that's probably not going to let him get into the end zone again schematically with what they have to do. But he is their receiving threat. And the fact that everybody knows this, and he continues to do incredible things. He gets open. He's great with the yak.
Yeah.
Like, he's not the biggest guy, but clearly he's one of the stronger guys, the way he breaks tackles. Just an absolutely dynamic player. It's really helped out Aiden O'Connell and this offense. You can't say enough about what he's done this year and about his future. So, Brock Bowers, you do your thing today because Ladd McConkey's going to be on the other side doing his thing for the Chargers.
You know, if there's one positive from a Giants fan's perspective, they actually hit a home run with their rookie wide receiver.
Yeah, and when you watch what happens with him and Drew Lock, it's been great, right? You see tons of targets, tons of opportunity. Talk about someone that defenses know to key in on. Malik Neighbors, it would have been interesting to see what his numbers look like had he been healthy for the full season. Whoosh, craziness. But ultimately, this is a great sign of things to come for the future. What I'm seeing or what I'm expecting to see in this Giants game against the Eagles today is an audition for everyone not named Malik Neighbors, but ultimately to be able to see what is going on, who from this offense are we going to be able to keep? And in large part, it won't be, see how we have this tight camera angle of just Malik Neighbors. It'll be, what are the other guys doing? Are you blocking? Are you running the right route? Because we know Malik is. So number one is who we'll start building around for the future.
Yeah, centerpiece of that entire team is what we're seeing. It's going to be Neighbors or Bowers that are going to finish with that record, most receptions by a rookie all time. Bowers already in the lead. He's got 108. Puka was 2 at 105 and Neighbors with 104. So you're right. Depending on how today plays out, we could be talking about another rookie record owned by someone in this class. Jaden Daniels, speaking of great rookies, could be your offensive rookie of the year. I'd be going out on a limb, I don't think.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, that's
pretty low-hanging fruit there, Mike.
Yeah, seriously. Next level analysis. We're bringing it to you here on Game Day Preview. It was a criticism of Jordan Love earlier this season. A lot of interceptions, but now he's gone 6 straight games without throwing an INT. Something tells me that streak might actually stay alive today. Time for Start Sit. It's presented by NFL Primetime Fantasy. DFS, Cynthia, like I could just see this. You were so geeked up in the commercial break, ready to go.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, as league employees, we're not really allowed to play, but we can help make recommendations, so I get to play vicariously through everyone else.
All right, so disseminate some information then. Let's start at the quarterback spot. There's a plethora of options here. Who's your guy?
Well, I'm looking at, look, there's a few that I was trying to decide between. I even looked at like some options like really fading a ton. Are we going to put up the whole lineup now, or are we just going to show just the quarterback?
Just Penix right now.
Okay, so we're going with Penix.
We'll do the recap at the end because
Absolutely.
there's a defense that I thought was interesting.
I was choosing between Tampa Bay or between the Falcons because I think both of them still have something to play for. So I went with Michael Penix. I know the Bijan's there. He's going to get a lot of yards, but I still think that they're, like you said, they could give him a game, so he's going to have to be throwing later in the game, whereas perhaps Baker won't be. Got it? That was my first one.
Okay,
By the way, look at how small the ball looks in Penix's hand. It looks like a ping pong ball. That's how big his hands are.
What did I tell you? I said, hey, like we've been really spoiled. We get to watch a lot of these guys get paid to go, to go and watch as opposed to paying to go and see some of these guys play. I would pay to watch Michael Penix throw the ball. I mean, just so darn smooth.
I keep freaking out that he's doing it the wrong hand because for so long this season Kirk Cousins is a righty. I'm like, what does he do? Oh, that's right, it's Penix.
Which would be crazy talented if that was the case. Week 18 is just sort of hard in general because who's playing and who's not. Saquon's out, but you think there's an opportunity here?
Yeah, because it's the return on investment. Remember, you play with this fake salary cap, so the fact that you're getting a discount for Kenneth Gainwell, who forecasts to get all of the lion's share, at least, of the snaps, this is going to be a great opportunity. You can run on the Giants, especially run to the outside. And Gainwell, he actually has done a really good job in the limited opportunities that he's gotten of being elusive, meaning breaking those tackles, getting those extra yards. I don't think that, I don't necessarily think this is a game where the Eagles are trying to go out there and get 1 billion yards for him and give him a Saquon-like output with 200 or 300 yards in it overall. But I do think, and you get him for this cheap fake price, so great return on investment for him.
Got to mention Devon Vele is not a high-priced player, so if I'm sticking with that strategy, it makes sense why you're rolling with him.
We know that there's some incentives for Courtland Sutton. Got it. Sure. Understood. But everyone knows that. And I think this will also be a game where the Broncos are going to have to stay competitive and they're going to keep throwing the ball. Vele's had such a nice uptick in targets and share in recent weeks. Yep. It's a really smart play. Again, he is, when it comes to price, he's very low priced. You're going to get him for about half the price you get for Courtland Sutton. So you're getting the same type of output for half the price. It's a deal. It's like a BOGO,
I like that.
Steve.
Oh, yeah.
It's a deal.
You won't be facing Trent McDuffie.
Right.
Oh, that's actually a really good point, too.
Life is way better. We don't have to face Trent McDuffie, turns out.
All right, so you're saving me a bunch of cash. Where am I spending it?
I am spending on Homerville.
Yes.
That is Jahmyr Gibbs. When I'm looking at the opportunity, basically it's Penei Sewell. Why? Because Penei Sewell will give him so much space to work with that it's like a really good opportunity to leverage the fact he is actually not the highest priced running back on the week. Go figure.
Wow.
But when you're looking at the opportunity, the return on investment here again, especially because in DFS formats, if you're not familiar with them, it's PPR. So all of the receptions he gets are the way that you get those upside as well.
All right, I like it. You got an assessment on how Cynthia did, Steve?
No, but I like how your salesmanship, saving money, spending money. Yeah. So you're spending up to the cap.
You have to
not
spend.
Being cheap. I like
No. I spend right up to that cap.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like car shopping, looking for good deals.
Here we go, Mike.
Look at that, Jordan Whittington. Ooh, bottom dollar.
That is next level.
What's it going to take to get you in a Jordan Whittington, huh?
I'm going Xavier Smith.
He's too expensive.
Once again, there's a lot of similarities with that car shopping. Just saying. NFL Plus, we got you covered. You can stream the entire NFL postseason, including every playoff game and the Super Bowl on mobile. Subscription required for NFL Plus. You can visit plus.nfl.com for terms. Time for Who Scores. It's presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Steve's geeked up for this. All right, here we go.
It's the third time you said geeked up, bro.
Woo!
Is it?
I got to give you some more 80s reference in my vernacular.
Psyched.
You heard my playlist. It is a little bit of a throwback before the show. Bears and Packers. I made reference to Jordan Love and the fact that he hasn't been turning the ball over. Something tells me they're getting 225 passing yards against the Chicago Bears. Defense is gettable. But as far as you're concerned, Steve, who do you like?
I think the Bears are going to get the end zone, too, and I think wide receiver DJ Moore.
Oh,
okay. This is going to be his last swan song of the season, and I think they're going to get the ball to him. You know, we talked about Mike Evans being force-fed a little bit. I think DJ, he gets open a lot. They're going to get the ball to him. He gets into the end zone, so DJ.
Okay, I like it.
I won't say it's in a winning effort.
Dolphins, yeah. Dolphins, Jets.
Devon Achane?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's really cold there. Like, there's another polar vortex coming, but that doesn't happen until Tuesday. Doesn't matter. When you're from Miami, just going to New York feels like a polar vortex. But I'm looking at Devon Achane, and obviously we know that it's Snoop Huntley that's going to be the quarterback in this one, so relying on very tricky run game opportunities. This is where Mike McDaniel is in his bag, and yes. Devon Achane is his dude. I know that, you know, obviously it's not as fun, and, you know, there's like great stats with him and Tua playing together. That's okay. They've had enough time to be able to create the Achane playbook for this one.
They win, they can get to the playoffs.
Yeah, there's a lot at stake here, and I think there's a lot of speculation that the Dolphins don't get it done because they haven't looked as strong without Tua, and the reality is they're playing for a whole lot. But DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns this season, and this week, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Download the app and use the promo code GAME when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Baker, win and you're in, buddy. Not to mention, right on the cusp of potentially breaking a Tom Brady record. We got more on that. Not to mention, we're taking you around some of the biggest matchups still to come on Game Day Preview.
Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you?
Let's go!
Justin wide open! Caught! Touchdown!
Oh, I never been that open. Okay, move. Spin move. I ain't never seen no like that.
Thrown behind, but somehow caught. And now lateral to Allen, reaching for the pylon.
The Saquon, we'll never see that again. No. I mean, that was, I think between that and then the Garrett Wilson, remember that touchdown he had earlier this season?
Pretty sweet.
Those
Mark Andrews catch last night
was pretty good too. Drake London, maybe we get an explosive play from him today. 13 targets, as you told me last week with Michael Penix as the team's quarterback. And for the Falcons, trying to find a way into the playoffs. You could see sitting at 8-8. They are on the cusp. They are in the hunt, but they need some help. They can only get in if they win that division. So they need to win, and they need to watch Tampa Bay lose its game against the Saints. But I'm already thinking about the game of the day. People have been talking about this thing as the game of the year, which I guess is accurate, right?
Well, it is, because right now, plus most of the games are played in 2024 if we're going by the calendar year.
There you go.
Love where your head's at. You're getting technical on me as well. All right, when it comes down to this game, and I know obviously you are a Detroit Lions fan, but give me that storyline that you were tracking in this one.
Well, I want to see what happens for Sam Darnold under pressure. Now remember, blitzing and pressure, not always the same thing. The Lions blitz on every single down. If you want to know the difference between their blitz and the blitz for the Vikings, the Vikings blitz on early downs and then they let off on third down. Well, that isn't the case. They blitz on every single down. One area of the weakness that we've seen is unblocked pressures. Sometimes that free runner can get to Sam Darnold. That has been a problem. Overall, in general, against the blitz, Sam Darnold is #1. Best passer rating against it, we get it. However, if they can figure out a way to kind of navigate the types of pressures that are going to be disruptive to Sam Darnold, that's one way that this defense that is still very injured despite getting Alex Anzalone back, that's going to be how they kind of minimize the effect that these crazy great pass catchers can dice them up.
Yeah, look, and I know we all give Cynthia love. She's from Michigan. She loves the Lions. Spent the first 9 years of my life in Minneapolis, going to old Met Stadium, now the Mall of America, going to watch Fran Tarkenton, Jim Marshall, and Carl Eller, and all of those great guys. So I'm not saying it, but that's there.
I didn't.
You know, it's rare to get our senior national reporter to. Guys, this is like breaking news right here.
Just planted that seed.
No, there's like the childhood attachment.
I love
there's
the Vikings too.
Childhood attachment, and what was the best part about those teams that I grew up watching? The Purple People Eaters. Their defensive line with Alan Page and Carl Eller. Well, now this is kind of the new version of that, right? We have Jonathan Grenard. We've got Andrew Van Ginkel, Pro Bowler, absolutely getting after it. They got after Jared Goff when they met earlier this year. And also, where did we see Jared Goff get a lot of pressure against the 49ers last week off the edges? So I expect some of that to come, but you talked about how the Vikings strategically blitz. Your boy Brian Flores blitzes against the run. Blitz. It's going to be very interesting to see if he can get Goff, who's been absolutely incredible with people in his face, off of his spot enough to be disruptive. I think the scheming of these defensive coordinators, who both could be head coaches in a couple weeks, really factors into this game.
It's wild to think both quarterbacks are top 5 in almost every metric against the blitz that you could possibly want. So is it going to be the blitz? Like, are these defenses going to remain in their identity? Or is it going to be the very few downs where they could maybe get pressure without blitzing or doing something contrarian to their normal that makes the difference? I don't know. That's like, to me, that's a very fascinating part of this game. So
I thought I blew your mind with fascinating things.
You did.
Totally. I feel really special to know that about you, because usually no one is more of a pro than you. Like, I get very mad when I think that you can't vote for MVP because it's just stupid. Yeah. But I'm glad. It's a special day, guys.
I'm going to throw two things.
Christmas came super early for next year.
2 items. You guys are loving up the defenses, and yet the offense has obviously been really strong. So 2 complete teams. And earlier I said we're all about transitions. That was a pro transition that you did on the Vikings conversation. Like, that was next level. If you can rewind and go back, trust me, it was absolutely terrific. But you're right, this is potentially the game, not potentially, it is the game of the year. How about this?
Oh, boy.
The part Raiders owner?
Can I just be honest? It was charming for a day, but, like, are we sure that's the same duck?
Ooh.
Like, how do you know? Was it marked? Or is that just any old duck that they brought in?
I'm going to go conspiracy theory. I'm going to say any old duck.
I don't think it's the same duck, guys.
All right, I'm with you there. Bucks, you know, you brought up something to me last night. I don't even think you said it on air. It might have been off air. You're giving some love to the head coach. And we don't talk about it.
We don't talk about Todd Bowles enough.
At all.
I mean, the fact that they continue to win. He's grown. He's added a victory to his docket every year. He wins this year. He gets to 10 wins. We know Liam Cohen is offensive coordinator. It gets deserved love for what he's done to this offense a year after Dave Canales, who got a head coaching job with Carolina, got mad love. What about the guy in charge? He not only orchestrates the defense, but he gets everything coordinated with a very young and a very veteran group of players. And I think Todd Bowles is somebody, when we talk about guys who've done a very good job, needs to be included in the conversation. Yes, everyone we talk about deserves it, but let's not forget what he's done to get Tampa Bay into this position.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that, and no, I'm not being offensive in any way to the GM, but when you see a guy like Shaq Barrett come back this late in the season, again, no offense to the GM, but he's not coming back for the paycheck. He's not coming back for this, like, crackerjack contract that was negotiated. He's coming to play for Todd Bowles and this team. He's coming because he believes in the people around him, in the organization, in the decisions they're making, and very, very much in the head coach in Todd Bowles. And that is a difference maker because learning his defense is a difficult thing to do, which is why we see during the progression of the season, the Tampa Bay defense or any Todd Bowles defense, they get better as the season goes on. But you bring in a vet like Shaq, Nelly, that is I don't really want to see them in the playoffs if I'm perhaps a team that is going to be coming as a wild card and potentially coming to their town. No, thank you.
We're going to get to your projections in just a moment here. Just one other storyline, because we're talking about playoff seeding here. Seahawks and Rams. McVay's sitting some of his guys. What does that say? Because, once again, seeding and matchups and the whole thing is still out there.
Right now they're number 3 seed, but they could drop to the 4 seed. Right, there's a lot of teams that favorably don't look like matchups on paper, but Sean McVay, this is him saying, we don't care who we play because it is about us. We've got to get healthy, we've got to get our heads right, and that's the only way we're going to have a shot. So forget holding on to the 3rd seed. If we fall to the 4, we fall to the 4. But salute to him for understanding the dynamic of his roster and the situation.
And he has a bunch of young players that are great. I'm specifically thinking about Blake Corum in this matchup, where you're going to get a chance now to see, can you be a contributor in the postseason? This is your audition to be, are you ready for not just regular time, but big time, right? High stakes. Maybe that'll help take a little bit of pressure off some of these vets that are not quite the youngest chickens, not necessarily Kyron Wentz, he's young, but like in general, you could give a little bit of rest. But ultimately, going forward, who can they trust?
Yeah, we'll get to Cynthia's projections on this game in just a moment. That's one of the later games. In terms of the early slate, and I know we've been talking about the NFC South and this division. Taking a look here, Bucs win, which means they are in, despite the fact that the Falcons, Cynthia also has as a winner as well.
But look at that Bucs score. I rarely have 2-score wins, let alone 3.
Well, the way the Saints' offense is,
I'm just saying. I'm just pointing this out for the larger good to humanity.
And then in the later games, Seattle, speaking of, you like the Seahawks to go and win.
Yeah, I think that they're looking at their season and saying, we underperformed in certain ways had we been healthy the whole time. Mike McDonald's going to need to figure out who's going to stay and who's going to go. This is, again, another, I'm going to use the word audition, but another kind of, it helps their scouting department if they see them in game situations, how they perform.
They get to 10 wins. That's something.
Huge. They've already overperformed.
I won't make you say it because you don't want to jinx it, but you did have the Lions.
Listen, I told you like 2 seconds ago, I now just am glad that they're here.
Yeah, it's
really,
story.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And I like the Vikings too. If it were a team I didn't like, which there's only a few, but whatever.
That list on the after show. Sunday statement time. Cynthia, give me the player that's ready to break out.
Yeah, I think Brian Thomas Jr. We just haven't talked about him enough in this show. He's already broken out. I don't think there's any questions about him. Whatever happens there from any standpoint of the organization, they made a great pick in him. He's a wonderful opportunity. And if that guy that works for the Lions goes someplace like Jacksonville, he's going to be really happy with Brian Thomas Jr. or whoever the coach is.
I'm going to talk about a team who's in the playoffs we haven't talked about. The Houston Texans and their quarterback, C.J. Stroud.
Yep.
I mean, they have played poorly the last few games. I think he gets back on track against the Titans, and they will be better as a number 4 seed when they get to the playoffs next week.
Yeah, there's struggle city here, and now an opportunity to really flex.
Yeah,
You're
rested.
Right. We haven't talked about Houston enough. Maybe it's because of some of these losses. Baker Mayfield, already a career high 42 offensive touchdowns. Single season record held by Tom Brady, which is 45. Baker gets it done and will break it today. Let's go. Why not? He had 5 last week. This dude could do this.
I mean,
against the Saints.
That's less than last week. That's like,
but I love Tom Brady being there. Tom Brady being there to call that.
That's a great call. And what Tom going to say is, records are made to be broken. It's going to be a great day of football. And it all starts in 3, 2, 1, right now.